Oh, yeah, I do.
Oh my God, I do.
I'm not getting into that rally though, by the way. They've been lining up since 10 a.m.
Oh,
I just have to look at it for my office window.
Okay, guys, let's go.
So I noticed that most of you got the email, so the email must be starting to work now.
There are a couple people I did get a call from my office saying they showed up there.
All right, so
It's on our phones.
it's pretty good. We tried sending out a couple times, even though even the agenda was wrong. That's my fault. I didn't check that on the agenda. Jim caught up with me last night, so. Let's go around the room. We'll just, for the record, introduce ourselves. And
Just gonna get this
again,
going
Patrick
again.
Maroney with Liquor Enforcement Division. Go to my left.
You want to do Ron?
Go ahead.
I'm Joni Green, Distilled Spirits Council.
Adam Stapen at Dillonville.
Stephanie Branson Taverly.
Steve Finley, Colorado Beer Distributors.
John Tipton, Beer Distributor. Pete Mearsman, member at large.
Nick Hoover, sitting in for Sandra Riggs, Colorado Restaurant Association. She's going to be here in about an hour.
Mickey Hackenberger, Wine and Spirit Wholesalers, Colorado.
Gene McAvoy, Liquor Off-Premise Statewide, Colorado Licensed Beverage Association.
Josh Fair with Walmart.
Roger Morris with Lewis Roadfield Law Firm.
Jenny Wood, Office of Behavioral Health. Jen Penn, representing Miller Coors.
Christopher Mallory, Fuller County Government.
Phil Hayes representing Target.
Mickey Petrolini with Colorado Bar Owners.
Laura Long, representing Craft Beer Colorado.
Jim Spall, premise.
Linda Atkins, the Attorney General's Office.
Ron Cambersell, Department of Revenue.
We'll start in the back over here with Danya.
Tanya Amick, Liquor Enforcement Division.
Saul Bailey, Colorado Licensed Beverage Association.
Megan Johnson Basil.
Brett Williams with the Second City Liquor. Bill Gasolino, Colorado Legal.
Next.
Brian Prophet, sponsor Grand Mills King Couch.
Jim Blackford, Liquor License Insurance.
Michael Steffett, Wine and Spirit Wholesalers,
Well, I'm
Colorado.
dirty with fluorescent.
Stephen Gould, Colorado Distillers Guild, and Goldman Distiller.
It's, so the passcode for the Wi-Fi, if you need it, is state, all small letters, state_user. And then the password is Grand Junction, all one word, all lowercase.
Thank you. It's not state_guest.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. It's state_guest. Thank you, Jim.
That's not coming.
It takes a while sometimes.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, I can't get it.
It'll happen slowly. Trust me.
I was gonna say just like
I
that,
started
but
last time we had a
haven't-
meeting here and it just got.
You're at the government, right?
I'm on.
I think I just had it from last.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We're gonna get going here. The intent of today's meeting, we have one more, liquor rules working group meeting, which is the larger group here. I'm sorry for those of you who are part of the working board, you weren't unable to sit up here. I don't have enough seats, I guess, but the intent today is to review all 4 subgroups' recommendations. 2 of the subgroups, I believe, have pretty much come to the end of their subgroups, and we believe that we have a draft on each one of those as recommendations. I do understand there may be some opposition to those, and we'll take that today. And then what we'll do after those 2, we'll look at those 2 subgroups recommendations, listen to any kind of opposition. We'll then make a record of it, and then we'll put it back out to the group, saying here is the final draft, and here's the opposition. And then we'll blast it out to our whole liquor industry list, just not this group, so everybody can chime in on it. The next 2 groups, the 197 and the review group, we still have a little bit more work to do. So we'll go over those today. If we can get that work done here, great, and then we can get recommendations out. If not, we'll have one more meeting of that subgroup, which I'm willing to do. I think we need it, but I'm open to ideas. So those 2 subgroups, I do have 2 rules or regulations that I haven't even had a chance to draw up yet that I'll bring up today for discussion. So we don't have a draft for it yet. I mean, just not enough time for one person in this world. So those 2 subgroups will still have to meet and look at those. So that's what the intent of today is. Okay? And the first one we'll do is powdered alcohol. I know I put my name on it, you know, Nick is the chairperson of that, but really we haven't gone any further the last time we met. So the first page in your handout is the recommended regulations for powdered alcohol. Last year we went through this as well, and we did add one more component, which was child-resistant packaging for the powdered alcohol. So, two new regulations, or actually one new one, 47.940, and then changes to 47.942. It's a one-page document. Everyone had a chance to read that? Are there any objections for submitting this for recommendation? Pete?
I have a question, not necessarily an
Sure.
objection.
Go ahead.
The last line, the last underlined section says, for the purpose of total liquor rules, liquid volume powder alcohol shall be the amount of liquid as directed on the manufactured packaging. Is it the intention to have this stuff reconstituted according to the package, the labeling on the package? So if it says this makes a quart, and you put in this amount and you add a quart of water, is that the intention?
Of this line?
Yes.
This line is just a definition for volume-wise. It could be for tax purposes, it could be for container size, it could be for a lot of different things. But we want to make a rule that says, okay, since it is a powder, what size is this considered? You know, so this rule is to help.
I guess what I'm getting at, maybe I should explain further. What I'm getting at is if it says, okay, you use this amount and it makes a pint
Mhm.
of reconstituted alcohol. But what if you put in only a half pint of water? And then it's twice as strong, is really what I'm getting
Mhm.
at. In other words, can it legally be reconstituted at a formula that's stronger, or maybe even less strong than what's on the package?
Sure.
And
Maybe what you ought to say in that line.
I'm wondering if we want to allow, if we have the authority to not allow it to be reconstituted in any other way than it's intended to be reconstituted.
I think for on-premises consumption, the line above that says that. The line above it says that if served on premises, it must be reconstituted as directed on the package.
Sorry,
Patrick,
I skipped to
in the
that.
line right above it, take the word the out prior. You got a word that doesn't belong. It's not the prior to be.
All right, thank you, John.
Sorry for that waste of time.
Oh, no problem. Cool.
Patrick,
Gene,
can we go back up to A,
which one?
uppercase
Oh, yeah.
A?
Yeah.
On powdered alcohol? What's not too difficult for normal human being, normal person, normal adult? And what's a normal adult?
Who's a normal adult?
Yeah. I know I'm not, but.
There's none in this room.
Oh, no. I think that's.
I resemble that. Why
Is
you look
there
at
any
me?
language in, consumer affairs or someplace that talks about child
You know,
lock or
we
child-
looked at, it, but it's a little bit even more confusing. I guess this is one of those you know it when you see it.
What does it say in the marijuana regs for it, for like the child safety stuff?
A lot like this, but with some other references in the US code. That's that more confusing aspect of it, so we took that out.
Is the children under 5 in the marijuana code?
Mm-hmm.
I can live with it, but I think it's pretty nondescript.
Any other comments? You know, I think it's always good to make the comment that the work that the subgroup did and last year's, given the parameters of what we have, the statute, I think this is the as deep as we can go with regulations. It may not, or it probably does not address all the public safety concerns that we have with powdered alcohol, but given the parameters of what the law is, I think it's the best we were able to come up with. So, make sure we have that in the record. Anything else, powdered alcohol?
This, is this regulation, does it make it clear that it's illegal to bring it into a liquor license establishment or on-premise?
I mean, it's regulated like any other distilled spirit, so therefore.
So it can't be brought in necessarily? Okay, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out where it starts and ends.
Okay. All right. On to trade practices. Ron was the chairman of that, so you wanna?
Sure, happy to go over this. So we had 5 primary draft regulations that were considered by the subgroup last week, 3 of which were either consensus or unanimous recommendations to be considered here today by the full working group. The first of which is, find my notes here. 47.322B, is that the right, is that the one that was correct? On hand sales. So this rule proposal is considered here. There were some adjustments that were made as a result of our subgroup meeting last time on item D. We added some language that said that it's the responsibility of the supplier employee that's
E?
Is it E?
Yeah, and I have my letters messed up
You
too.
got the numbering off.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. I'll change that. There's 2 E's, yeah.
Actually, it's item D. So in the case, if the one that you're looking at, if you look at D, the second sentence was added to clarify that the supplier representative must verify that each consumer is of lawful age prior to giving the item to the consumer. We also made one change on the size limits for spirituous liquors on paragraph F. We changed it from 50 milliliter to 200 milliliter. Some of the feedback that we received was that a lot of the smaller distilleries don't manufacture 50 milliliter bottles, and so
We discussed 300 to 75 because nobody uses 200. It's not a legal size in the US. We can't bottle a 200 milliliter.
Yeah, 200 you can.
Something in a 200 milliliter bottle.
A lot subgroup we talked about, 200 is a legal size by the feds to allow.
I don't know anybody that's bottling a 200 milliliter. And the issue is, if you're gonna put a size, it's gotta be a size that people are using. We don't wanna give away 750 milliliter bottles, that's crazy. But at least give us a bottle that people are using. I literally have never seen a 200 milliliter bottle used by any spirits or translators.
okay.
Come to Applejack. I have a Fireball in my refrigerator that's 200. I'm always sorry, it's the freezer.
My 2 cents. And as
Okay.
a member of the public, I'm not on the committee.
Sure.
But what are you guys' thoughts on that?
I don't have a problem making it 375. I don't really care. It's what you feel comfortable with as for the department. Because it still becomes down to a business decision of what the supplier wants to give away and how much, and what the retailer would allow the supplier to give away. So I don't mind if you say up to 375 if that works for Colorado distilleries. And I'm most concerned about the Colorado distilleries being on an equal footing with national companies.
Does anyone object to raising that to 375? We'll do.
There you go. Okay, and then the,
So is it gonna say up to?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it says the maximum amount of alcohol beverages given to each consumer.
and then there was a discussion about adding another paragraph at the end, which is paragraph H. which just says, all items purchased by the supplier representative for the giveaway must be given away to the consumer, or the retailer must purchase back any remaining items not given away at the original purchase price.
And then, hey, Ron, just a couple of quick comments.
Okay.
On A, B, and E, you use the word wholesaler. I think that should be replaced with supplier. Because the definition of supplier includes the wholesaler it's used throughout.
Okay. Okay.
Before,
A, B, and E.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments on that one? Roger?
On, three A, says supplier consumer giveaway on alcohol beverages. It's not clear to me that it says anywhere in here specifically that it's only for consumption off the premises.
Mm.
I'd say giveaway of alcohol beverages for consumption off the premises.
Well, it says it in three, the opening.
Says it in three.
Three, the lead-in says it, where it says, license for off-premises consumption.
Right, but that doesn't apply.
You're right.
So Roger, specifically, which one was it that you were saying we need to add it?
I would add it in A somewhere.
An A, okay.
3A. So make it clear that it's not, you're not allowed sampling or you're drinking product on the premises.
Okay.
What was the other wholesaler, by the way? I'm trying.
E.
A, B, and E.
A, B, and
First
E.
E.
Could go in E.
Any other comments on that one?
Before we put an A, I'm gonna take a look at it and see if it might fit somewhere else.
I'm gonna go under E. Directly to the consumer for consumption.
Yeah, the second E, which would be F.
Right.
It says supplier representative or their authorized agents may give away sealed alcohol beverage products. Okay?
Yeah.
So no one here would there be any ability to open it on the premises? Those other rules that,
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Maybe you could say something not for consumption on the premises.
At the end of consumer for off-premise consumption.
Only.
okay.
Okay. Any other comments on that one? And incidentally on that, when we took a straw poll at the committee, or our subgroup, it was consensus, but 2 were opposed.
So we got opportunity now, the way it's written is what we have written, but is there any opposition to this?
I have to, take the final language and circulate it. You know, we didn't think it was necessary, but I don't think it's gonna be something we're gonna make a big issue of, but I just have to say
And-
we're gonna say
Sure.
it.
Yeah, okay.
Ultimately, I
That's
have
fair.
to do that too with whatever the final version is.
Well, but I mean, understand that we're tweaking the final version here. We're talking about concepts here too. I mean, of allowing this to happen in a retail liquor store, liquor license drugstore, really, so. That's I understand things, you know, to your group. And, we'll get these out to get final feedback, okay?
Okay, so the next one that we had was, which I'm gonna take these a little bit out of order, was giveaway items. And this was drafted, by one of the subgroup members and was highly debated and discussed. And we arrived at this draft. And we made a couple of changes in our final meeting. Number 1, in paragraph D, think it was paragraph B. It's hard, I can't see where I made the changes on this, but it is paragraph D, second line. We took out fair market value and just said actual cost. So the actual cost of the item. And then in paragraph E, we also added some clarity to that to say that the burden's both on the retailer and the supplier with respect to being able to prove that the item was indeed given away to the consumer. And then finally, in paragraph F, we extended it from 30 days to 60 days as a result of discussions at our subgroup meeting. So the contest itself, including the drawing period, shall not last longer than 60 days instead of 30.
And I got the letters mixed up on the second page again. It was late night mistakes. So there's not two H's, so I'll change that lettering. There are also a couple changes I made here that you're not gonna see on the strike through because on the original I'm the one that drafted it, so when I go change my own changes, it doesn't mark it, so. Under, a couple changes that I made, were under C. Jim and I talked about this last meeting about how long the display item can be there, so C. Any item to be given away in a consumer contest must be awarded and given to the winning consumer within the time afforded by this regulation. Otherwise, the item must be returned to the supplier who will be responsible for awarding the item to the winner. Okay? And then I also changed H on the top of the second page. The actual item that is or are part of the consumer contest may be on display in the licensed premises only during the period of the consumer contest. At the end of the contest period, the items may be stored at the retail location for no more than 30 days following the end of the consumer contest period. Did that help clear that up?
So Patrick, would store be different than display?
Yes. It can't be on display for more than 60 days.
Okay.
Or however long your contest period is for. It's 45 days, you gotta move, but it can still be on the premises, just not on display.
Comments on this one? And again, there was one opposed, the rest voted
Yeah,
in favor.
distributors remain opposed.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just,
All
we
right.
think there's just, you're replacing one cumbersome, non-enforceable rule with another unenforceable rule.
Okay.
What was the first unenforceable rule?
Well, what we currently have.
Well,
whatever we have, whatever.
The memo?
Yeah.
So, leave it there.
Okay. Anyone else besides your group opposed this? We'll make sure we get in the record.
Miller Coors believes that it's not really enforceable, so we should probably just move away from it.
Help me out here, I understand the term enforceable. Help me understand.
That's what I was told to say. Hey.
Yeah, you guys enforceable?
Yeah, it creates another complex accounting issues.
Mhm.
That you don't have the staff to go in and do these kinds of accounting. We think it will happen, and it's easy to say it will be enforced, but I think there are bigger items that need to be enforced, and so this is not gonna be one that is. And that's the position we're in.
Okay. Jim?
You know, from my perspective, all I care about is having, for retailers, is a level playing field. And so I would say that I think this is fine. The enforceability issue becomes a question for the department or the division. If they believe it's enforceable and they're happy with it, that's fine. If they think it's not enforceable and it will lead to abuse, then I still am of the opinion that at that point I would prefer a level playing field, and that going along with Steve Finley, that we just not allow this at all. In other words, you can do it by a picture, you can do giveaways by a picture, but not by actually bringing
Right.
merchandise in. But again, my concern is that it be enforceable and that it perpetuates a level playing field.
And with that comment, I will echo yes, with our current staff, we have not really enforced this at the point. Do I feel that we'll have more enforcement? Yes, I do. What level, I can't tell you exactly, as far as what I think, how far we can get into this, but items like this are gonna be a focus of the division in the future. And I absolutely reserve the ability to come back next year, or the year after that, and scale back and say, we're going back to a picture because of A, B, and C, with documented proof of, or not documented, with examples of what we have, and if it's a problem, we'll yank it and we'll say picture. So, with that in mind, you have the commitment from me there. And if it comes out to be, well, we're not able to increase enforcement enough to take care of this, we'll pull it back to go to a picture as well. Okay, so that's my intent here. This is at least the division desired to open the door a little bit and test the waters. But we have to test the waters. So let's open it, test it, see what happens, and at that point, it may be great, no problems, we'll continue on. If we have documented issues, we'll just say we're done. Okay?
Okay, live that.
Any other comments on that one? Okay, the next and final,
I just had one comment.
yeah.
Does it say anything out there, I didn't see it, but maybe I missed it, that the supplier, if the product goes back to the supplier has to give it away?
Yeah. That was that last, or under C. I mean, where did I put it? Yeah, under C. Otherwise, the item must be returned to the supplier who will be responsible for forwarding the item to the winner.
Okay, so
Not
that-
may, it has to go. And what I don't wanna create here is something where the supplier just puts it here, takes it back, I'll find the winner, yeah, sure. Puts it over here, no, they have to give it to the winner.
Okay, good.
Any other comments on that one? So with that, we're gonna move on to the final recommendation from the subgroup to be considered by this working group, and that is retailer samples. Is that the one that has the wrong reference?
No, it's the one,
Okay.
other one.
Oh, it was the other one, okay.
It was this one, it should have been 5, not 3.
Okay. And I don't know, Patrick, if you wanna give some
Yeah, this is just,
background
again, this is just cleanup language for off-premise accounts where the supplier comes in and does retailer sampling. They're allowed to keep up to, 3 liters or a 6-pack of beer. If it's sealed, they can keep it there, but then the regulation really doesn't address what to do with it at that point. So we're just adding language where you can leave it there if the seal's left intact, but you must remove it within the end of the day. So.
That one was unanimous by the subgroup. Any comments on that one? So I'm just, for the purposes of just, being transparent and letting everyone know, there were 2 other recommendations that were highly debated and discussed by the subgroup. One involved laid-in costs and trying to further clarify that as it related to independent malt liquor wholesalers, and we weren't able to come to not even a consensus on that one. So the one thing we could agree on is to table it for next year and continue to work on this and take a look at it. The other one was related to signs and interior displays, and trying to establish some kind of a limitation for allowance of promotional logoed items to be provided by the suppliers to the retail establishments. Again, probably just really ran out of time in terms of trying to reconcile and resolve this one, but I think we got some good conceptual starts with this and trying to start looking at the federal guidelines and trying to make some tie to something in a rule that everybody can live with. So that's another one that we agreed to table till next year, but with the full understanding that we'll wrestle with that topic again next summer. So that's it for the trade practices group. I think we had some really good discussion. I think we came up with some good rule suggestions for this group, and hopefully we can move them forward.
So we'll take all the changes we made today. In the morning time, I'll change all the changes, make sure they get done, send them out to everybody, and again, make sure you have a chance to run it by your groups before we give final recommendation at the next meeting. So my intent and my desired commitment is to get these to you at least a week, if not more, probably more, before the next meeting on the 21st. Okay, so the 21st should be a quick sign-off meeting. If not, it's fine. We still have an ability to discuss things. Okay. The next subgroup is the 197 subgroup, and we have quite a few rules that we looked at changing and adding. And the first one, 47-304, transfer of ownership and changes in licensed entities. If you look at that, this one really is just clean up language, grammar, spelling, uppercase, lowercase. Initially, I had the next rule, which is the new one, 47-305, talking about the transfers, wholesaler confirmation. I had it built into the first one, 304. So I separated out because it seemed to be more of its own regulation than I did making it part of the transfer. So that's why you see. So 304 is just really clean up. Any questions about 304? Okay. So now 47-305. This was brought up by the last subgroup, and thanks to some members here, did a great job of coming up with I think a really good proposition on the issue we have. The one thing I think we need to discuss is is E. that's the crux, I think, of the whole thing. It sets out parameters of how long the wholesalers have to get back to the retailers. It talks about the kind of methods of delivery, that it has to be from wholesalers sold within the last 180 days previously. How does everyone feel about that time frame? So, the division will create an affidavit that the wholesalers have to fill out that they've been paid or not, and these will be for the wholesalers that have sold to that retailer in the last 180 days. So I want any discussion, any opposition, any issues with that. We'll make it longer. I am not in any desire we'll make it any shorter. That's 180 days is a little bit short for me, but I'm going to discuss that. Steve, do you have a question?
Hey, didn't we talk about putting some language in where if a wholesaler did not respond?
It's there.
Didn't see it.
It's number, letter D.
Oh, sorry. Yep, sorry, my bad.
Did we talk about 15 calendar days, or I thought we talked about business days?
No, I thought we said.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Shorter business days.
15 business
Was it
days is
business?
longer than 15 calendar.
Yeah, I know.
days.
Was it? We thought 7 business days, was it?
But we want longer to
Yeah, no,
respond.
We want shorter.
I know.
Right.
So this is a good compromise.
So it could be, well, it's not a compromise if you're only compromising with yourself. I thought we talked about it.
Love the one you're with.
That may be, I'll have to circulate
Yeah, I'll have to
that
go
one
back.
again. We may come back and ask for longer.
What about the 180 days for selling to a wholesaler?
That's like 6 months, they would have done business with them. I mean,
Right.
If they're not doing business in the last 6 months, there's a reason, some
Right.
problem, and they're probably taking other measures, I would say,
So make
to
your,
collect bad debt, so we're fine with 180 days.
I think we're fine too. I'll get confirmation.
I think we're fine too.
but make your thinking business days versus calendar,
Yeah, I just
because that
need
would
to go
give
back
you.
and run that by, cause I thought that's what, they had told me.
Okay.
And we're just talking about the business days just for the 15 days
For
upon.
D.
Right.
Right,
Yes.
not for the 180 calendar.
No,
Okay.
Right.
just 15, business days to respond as opposed to 15 calendar days.
And then upon confirmation, the retailer goes to COD. And then under E, nothing within this regulation shall prohibit or restrict a local licensing authority from issuing a temporary permit or from processing a transfer application. However, a transfer shall not be approved unless the transferor is in compliance with this regulation.
Should be compliance, not compliance.
Is in compliance. Thank you. Okay.
Patrick, the transferee has to file deliver the confirmation to wholesaler within a specified time period, does it not? On at or before the time of filing transfer of ownership.
Right.
If he's late, can he cure? You say he's got to be in
When
compliance.
they have to submit those at the time of application.
Okay, what if they're missing one and they go ahead and submit the application?
They can't submit it for missing one.
So they can't submit it at all, it'll be rejected?
Well, no, they have 15 days. You know, so they send it to the wholesaler, document it to the wholesaler, you know, before their application is given to the locals.
Right.
So they have to do some homework here before they just file it. So you send the application, or the form off to the wholesalers, they have 15 days, whatever we define that as, to respond. If you don't receive it, it's deemed as paid.
Okay.
So then you can just document that, you can then file your application.
Okay, so you've gotta go through this completely before you file it?
Correct. Yeah. No quick and,
Basically, so you're saying that prior to submitting the application, you have to submit all these affidavits as well? I thought it was at or before the application's filed, the applicant delivers the confirmation to each wholesaler. And then you have 15 days to bring it back and not have all your ducks in a row ahead. Obviously, the best business practice would be to do
Okay.
it that way. But I just wanna make sure we're on the same page.
okay, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. Adam, thanks.
My concern, Patrick, is that if you're out of compliance, you wanna be able to get back in compliance.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I told you, you have, before or on the date of application to deliver those confirmations to the wholesalers.
But if you forget one or screw up one, will you guys let us amend?
I mean, there's the reasonable clause here, you know, I mean, if you, just don't mess up. Just don't forget.
That's why the lawyers have insurance.
That's why lawyers have insurance.
Don't look at me like that, Jeff.
Because forget can always be a defense, but it can't be.
No, this is kind of what we all proposed. I just wanna make sure we're on the same page with it. I mean, I think to your point, that if for some reason the wholesaler slipped through the cracks, that there should be, that's a good point, to have some provision that says that you could submit one after the fact, as long as everyone's on board to say, hey, everyone's paid, the license won't transfer until we get this last wholesaler affidavit to you. You know, I'm just thinking that through. If one does slip through the cracks, like Roger was saying, you catch it, you work out with the wholesaler, and then we deliver the affidavit, that shouldn't bar the transfer. Yeah.
Transfer shall not be approved unless the transfer or licensee is in compliance with the regulation. Once you're out of compliance, you can't get in compliance, so that killed the transfer, literally. I mean, I realize that's not the intent. How about could you just say something like, for good cause shown, an applicant can submit, these confirmations, after the time of filing?
Our issue is we just want the confirmation of payments made before anyone is approved. So I don't care if they submit those after they do the initial filing.
Right.
But they just can't be approved for a transfer.
How about if we do this? In the first paragraph, in accordance with section 1247.303.1D CRS, and strike out at or before the time of filing a transfer of ownership application.
I think that works.
Yeah, but
Where's that, which section is
The
that?
very first line, strike out the word from at to the first comma.
I think that works.
So we just start
Right.
CRS,
You know-
the applicant shall deliver,
Right.
right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that works.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know there's still the issue out there of wanting to cure this outside of this process. The only thing I can possibly lend up for that is on the form, we can put language in there, say, for the purpose of regulation 47305, wholesaler is deemed paid. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Not resolved, but paid. But for the purpose of this regulation
transferring the
only,
license, right.
has been paid. And I don't know,
I'd have to run that by
lawyers, you
our
gotta tell me if
attorney,
that's good enough, or, I mean, that's the best I could offer possibly.
Well,
Of-
I think what he's offering up is to say that, assuming I have a dispute with your wholesaler and we agree to go down a certain road and I put money into escrow,
Right,
or whatever that may
yeah.
be, you can still sign off and say, for purposes of regulation, you can transfer the license.
I just wanna make sure that we're not saying,
Right.
we basically are gonna say, this is paid. when-
Exactly,
So
exactly.
that's why I just need to send that to the attorneys.
And that'll be done by form, I'm not gonna write it in here,
Oh,
it'll be done by the form.
Patrick, it still leaves it up to the wholesaler whether they sign it or not.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, so there's nothing that any of our clients would sign unless they have worked out something.
Right.
Right. Well, like say you decide to resolve it by,
Payment terms.
Payment terms,
I
you
don't
know.
know.
Yeah.
have you been paid?
Yeah.
No, but.
But we.
But for
these
purposes
Right.
of transferring the
but
license.
Right, but the law says shall, have been paid, so we have to make sure that the language is like
Tie
that.
it in.
So,
Fine with that.
Okay. Okay. Any other comments on 305? Rocking and rolling. 312. And this is just to put in the clause about change of location for retail liquor stores that can locate out of original jurisdiction. Any questions? We good there? All right, 47.319. I changed the language in this to help better align with what the
Right.
law says and with what we're looking at. So, a liquor license drugstore permitted manager is a person who has been designated by the licensee as a person who is in actual control of the liquor license drugstore's alcohol beverage operation. This is a little bit different, right? Better? And then this, B says, a liquor license drugstore received a license after January 1st of 2017. Must have or shall have, on duty. And then C is where we change it as well. A liquor license drugstore licensee must submit an application for each permitted manager to the Liquor Enforcement Division on forms approved by the state licensing authority. The manager permit is an annual permit that is renewed every year. And then D, all liquor license drugstore alcohol orders shall only be made by a person who has a valid manager's permit pursuant to 1247-425.
Have you thought about what you're gonna require for application for that? They gonna do a background check?
Yeah, that's by statute, that's all defined in the statute. No felonies in the last 5 years, not had any alcohol, service-related, crimes in the last 8 years, so that's all done by law, I'm not sure if we have to repeat in the rule.
So we're gonna fingerprint that?
Mhm.
So we're gonna.
question about that? One thing that, through the 197 classes that I've been training and Donnie has done, one thing we wanna make sure that, these are all new liquor licensed drugstores. Even the independents that come up after January 1st that only decide to have one store, well, they can only have one store. If you have one store, it still applies to them. They have to have permitted managers, even though they have one location. Just wanna make sure I make that clear.
Patrick, when is the license renewed, the permit? Is it renewed annually on its, renewed every year on its anniversary, or?
What, the manager permit?
Yeah.
No, it's gonna be its own cycle.
Yeah, that's what I mean, it'll be renewed, if it's issued to me on February 5, I have to renew it by February 5 next year?
Yeah,
Okay, so it's renewed on its anniversary, it's not renewed on a calendar year basis?
right. And it's renewed on the anniversary that you submit it versus the licensee's anniversary.
Right, got it.
323, a lawful extension of credit. All this does is, discusses that the liquor license drugstore shall not receive credit if licensed after January 1st, 2017.
Patrick?
Yeah.
I don't have any issue with this language here, but I would like to, I sent out, the laws that are in Texas and another state.
Florida.
Looking at Jan, Florida, that have, it's essentially their no-ship laws when you're beyond the 30 days, delinquency. And I sent it to some of the group, and Adam, I have to send it to you. At some point, I don't know where it's appropriate, I would like to put that on the discussion for consideration here. And I don't think you would have to tell me if you thought you had the statutory authority currently to put that in statute, or in rules, or if it would have to be a statutory change. But I would like to bring that to the work group for discussion.
That'd be a good one for next year. And I can tell you right now, I don't feel we do have the statutory authority to probably get rules to make that happen. We would need statutory authority on several levels to be able to do that.
So I'd like to put that on the agenda at some point in the future.
Okay. Any questions, comments about 323? Okay. Next, 407 liquor licensed drugstores. What?
Just a flag, Patrick, you're aware of this, but so the group understands, on 47407B, the second sentence reads, liquor licensed drugstores licensees shall conduct and maintain a bona fide drugstore operation at all times as a condition of the class of this license. We're gonna seek a slight adjustment to that. I think folks are aware that CVS operates all Target's pharmacies. We would need to clarify, and we've offered some language to Patrick, but, we would need to clarify that we don't have to actually conduct and maintain the bona fide drugstore.
That was one of the two rules that I haven't had time to draft up to
Sure.
present here, was to allow that to occur. So back in the last, when was it, last summer or fall, Target had to apply for a retail liquor store license because they no longer were able to keep their liquor license drugstore license because of the CSV coming in and subletting the pharmacy out to them. They went through the application process, it was seamless to where it was the same day event in February of this year where they turned into a retail liquor store. That changed their whole construction of it and everything, so. And of course, the law allows Target to be able to get an additional liquor license drugstore, but the rule prohibits it. So, we're drafting a minimum way if possible to allow the contracted pharmacy. The really intent here is to make sure there's a pharmacist there, and there's a bona fide pharmacy on the licensed premises, and that's 50% each day that the pharmacist is there. So that's the real intent.
Sure. So Patrick, who gets the liquor license?
Target.
Even though it doesn't have a drugstore?
even though they're in a
So
drugstore.
CVS won't have a liquor license.
They won't.
So you're gonna grant a liquor license under a contract with a contract pharmacy.
Will allow the pharmacy to be a contract.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes.
Does that fit within the statute?
What's that?
Does that fit within the statute?
If it was in.
Does that fit within the statute?
I looked at the statute on liquor license drugstores, I couldn't find any prohibition of that.
So, I haven't looked, I was just asking the question.
But it doesn't necessarily allow it either. John, in response to
Not
your
not
question.
aware.
Let me
It's
ask-
silent on it, just basically.
Right.
On that on that B, what does the word main, the first line, it's the intent of this regulation to require a liquor licensee to maintain. Doesn't say own, doesn't say contract, it says maintain. And I don't know what maintain means.
Yeah, I think conduct and maintain is the verbiage that's getting people caught up with Target. Yeah, I think folks who were part of the negotiation recall in CRS 1247-408B1, we specified that anybody who possessed a drugstore liquor license prior to the 21st of February this year would be eligible to add additional license under the statute. So we just need a clarification to make sure that the statute doesn't conflict with the rule.
Right.
That's all.
And if you look under C, I think the biggest part there is a licensed pharmacist shall be an owner or employee of the licensee. That's where the
That's also
rub
an
is.
issue.
Yeah, oh, okay.
That's the prohibition of a contract too.
Yeah.
That,
So when they make changes to that, that's really where I see the changes being made is under C. Yeah, the statute, John, gives pretty broad promulgation
I
authorities.
just haven't looked, I don't have a problem, I was just asking the question.
No, that's good, yeah.
One other question, and I presume the contract has to provide that the contracting party, Target in this case, is responsible for all of the actions of the pharmacy with regard to the sale of alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
John, can you repeat that? What you just said?
I said that it would seem that the contract between Target and CVS would require that Target is responsible for, even though they're the landlord, basically, that they're responsible for all of the activities of the pharmacy with regard to the sale of alcohol.
I thought that's what I heard, but I wanted to be sure.
Yeah, and to be open about it, I mean, I don't even know if they've considered whether they're gonna allow the pharmacy to sell alcohol in a facility.
No, I understand,
I
I'm
think
just.
that's up in the air.
I'll see what I can do about adding some language to that effect. I mean, I think it's there and it's there anyway, but to make it clear.
Yeah, cause the reality is your authority is over the licensee, which is Target.
Right.
But you don't wanna end up having a non-licensee. I mean, you got the same issue with the registered, manager.
Right.
Cause now it's a contract instead of a registered manager for the pharmacy. It's now a registered manager for, is it the pharmacy or is it Target?
I'm understanding registered manager for the pharmacy.
Yeah, we just looked at the other regulation for the registered
But
manager
look-
for a drugstore license.
That's the permitted manager that's working for the licensee.
Right, so now it's a permitted manager filed by Target, not by CVS.
Right.
Right, cause Target would be the licensee.
The Target's the one that has the liquor license drugstore.
Right,
Right.
right.
I mean, we're just basically doing a workaround to make sure it works.
Right.
And so I just wanna make sure we don't lose something up.
Right, no, good. Okay. Anything else on 407? It's pretty long.
I'll be the first one to bring it up.
Yeah.
Open
what-
to the public.
Oh, yeah, yes. Adam.
So, yeah, just so I understand this, yes, I'll be the one that opens the door. Everyone else can walk in with me
What's
too.
the number on that one, Adam?
6. So I see this as being two conditions.
Yes.
Open to the general public, and alcohol beverages may be purchased without membership or requirement or added cost.
Right.
What does open to the general public mean as you being the drafter of the language?
That the person is still able to go into the store. Not necessarily, I mean, here's our desire. In doing the legal research on this, we found really another case law that really doesn't fit, but it talks about open to the public. The one Colorado case law we found that actually went to the US, didn't it?
There are a couple of Colorado cases,
That one with the
but
letter.
there is one that had to do with, basically an adult entertainment establishment, but that sets forth criteria that the courts will look at for determining whether a club is open to the public. And it adopted, I think it was Third Circuit language from a private swimming pool situation, but it set forth several criteria that courts are going to look at. So that's Colorado Court of Appeals case. That's the closest that we've got here as far as what they're gonna look at for determining what open to the public is. The site is 989 P2D 235. People.
What page?
235. It is a 1999 case. People versus 2896 West 64th Avenue.
Aloha Beach. Now ask me why I know that.
Don't wanna know.
Too much information.
So what it does is it set out like, was it 8 different parameters of the court, things the court would look at to determine whether or not this is open to the public. And,
Yeah.
I mean, print this out.
So, but Adam's asking
And then, but let me
Oh,
finish
sorry.
that, and I'll finish one more thing after that. What are those criteria?
You wanna know okay, the genuine selectivity of the group in the admission of its members, the membership's control over the operation of the establishment, the history of the organization, the use of the facilities by non-members, the purpose of the club's existence, whether the club advertises for members, whether the club is a profit or non-profit organization, and the formalities observed by the club.
Was it open to the public?
In addition to that, and looking at how other states handle that have open to public laws, is they adopted this similar to this, to where that as long as their sales are to the public, that they consider that open. As long as there's no additional charge, nothing like that, the general public can come in. We took a step further, they said that actually facility, the licensed premises has to be open to the general public, which means general public has to be able to go in.
Right.
So we added that language on top of that. So those two combined, along with taking a look at that case law, was what we felt was our best shot. Now, so we let our hand out here. If you can convince me otherwise, one way or the other, beyond what we've really talked about, I'm open to listen to it.
But just an analysis, just a quick, by example.
Mhm.
What open to the public would be if I was able to walk into the establishment without being stopped. If I walked off the street, pulled out in the parking lot and walked in, is that open to the public? And I don't know.
I would say yes.
Okay.
Okay, so let's be really blunt with this. We're playing games here. So, open to the public, as I understood it when we drafted this language, meant, I'm looking at my friends from the company, chime in, was addressed towards membership clubs. And basically saying that if they are going to sell alcohol products within those premises, I know this is the point of confusion, that their entire operation within that sphere, within those 4 walls, would be open to the public, meaning that they couldn't have a membership requirement. So I asked, as I look at it, and I want to understand how you're looking at it, if I walk into Costco or Sam's Club, and I can walk in there without being a member, correct? question
Yeah,
number one.
you can.
I can go buy alcohol beverages from them without them requiring me to give them my membership card or being a member, correct?
Correct.
I should also be able to buy food or other things that they sell within those premises, within those four walls, without being a member, without being required to be a member. Is that correct? This is the rub. No, we're just being honest with each other. This is the rub. And I believe that the regulation, I wanna understand that if the regulation says that, that's great. If the regulation
That's-
doesn't say that,
I
then
don't think the regulation is saying that.
is the regulation saying that I cannot walk into Costco and, without being a member, and buy alcohol beverages and food, both? I can buy the alcohol beverages, but I can't buy the food?
All we address is alcohol.
Understand that, but that's not my question. Because this is where
Th-
really,
th-
this is
will
where that
allow-
rubber hits the road.
This will allow the person to be able to go in, not necessarily buy food, but purchase alcohol without being a member.
Understand that, but if I Joe Citizen, wanna walk into Costco, I'll make Josh feel good, into Sam's Club. There's a lot of ways to cut this.
Yeah.
If I wanna walk, I'm not a member of Costco. And I walk into Costco and I say, I'm gonna go buy food.
They'll give you a 1-day pass.
Let's say they don't have that policy, just, let's play it through. You have to be a member.
Wait, before, does Sam's have that policy?
I think so, we have 1 minute, yeah, 1.
Do you have to pay for it?
No.
I have no idea.
You don't.
Cause I belong to both of them.
How many one-day passes?
You can
Yeah,
go
I'm
in.
not sure.
I mean, what I'm really saying is, can I go in there and buy food there, is without, day after day after day after day, because they have the privilege of selling alcohol beverages. By giving them the privilege of selling alcohol beverages within the four walls, that they have to choose between either being a membership club or not being a membership club.
The answer that's no. I mean,
Well, that's based on what Patrick is saying, I think that is what it's saying.
yeah, that's how I see it too. 'Cause again, back to your point, Jim, if the legislature intended that, they would have said that.
Well, but I think Pat Stedman did say that when he gave his testimony, and Gene and I were researching that as well. And that's the only testimony that's been provided on that. Correct, Gene?
He does refer to it in his verbal testimony.
Do you know, I mean, so to help me out, we'll be glad to research that. If he does, we'll maybe take a look differently, but we need some clear indication in a public testimony forum that that's what was said. I'm not aware of, I mean, I was at every meeting, and I could have missed stuff. I don't remember that, cause I'm pretty sure that if that was said, maybe he did it, say that a lot of flags were being raised by a lot of people there. So, I don't know if it was or not, but, I mean, I'm willing to look at that if that's the case, but I don't remember that at all.
Was that in committee or on the floor, or do you know where?
Business Affairs Senate
Okay.
starts at about 14 minutes into the discussion.
Can I show this to? But leaving this aside, I'll show you.
But let me, I think you all need to listen to it on your own dime. I've gotta go. But the thing that you wanna bring this up is he didn't identify any particular membership club. So you do need to, so it's kinda,
Okay.
He didn't say Costco or Sam's
No,
or
he
anyone
didn't.
else.
he did.
But let's go back to the whole concept, and this is where, let me convince you of this one, or try to, and I'm being quite serious with this one. The reason why this whole bill came to be is trying to create as level of a playing field between grocers, liquor licensed drugstores, and the existing liquor retailers. That's number one. If in fact, I cannot charge a membership to come into Applejack, and all of my revenue comes from what I sell within the store, basically, then I'm at a severe disadvantage if I have a company, whether it be Costco or whomever it may be, who can make their money off of their membership fees. Chime in, because I know you gotta go.
No, my question, I have some questions on the licensed premise. And is there anything in the rule or in the statute that says, I'm gonna go into Joe's Club, let's membership club. They sell alcohol, they sell drugs, and they sell food and all sorts of other things that you could possibly think of. And on my way to pick up that bottle of wine, I happened to see that there's something else I want. Is there anything in the law that prevents me from going to the alcohol checkout with my wine and whatever else I picked up, and they run the sale? Now, I'm not saying they do that, but is there anything that prevents them from doing that?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So I think there was more than one legislator. I understand Jim's point, and I understand their point. I'm setting enough.
I have clients on all sides, you know that. I'm just trying to find a level playing field.
Surprise, surprise.
Right, but back to your point though, Jim, a level playing field between the grocers, or at least the drugstore, liquor stores, and the regular liquor store. There's already the credit not built in. You gotta pay at actual cost, not anything else. So there is that built-in statutory framework that exists already that would, I think, address the concerns that you have, which is why I think the interpretation that Patrick has is probably the most legitimate, reasonable interpretation.
You're just trying to stroke them.
And along those lines, Jim just said he can't charge a membership. Where in statute does it say that?
It would, well,
And the other point, to Gene's, to just take it a little bit step further, is right now, according to how this division enforces this rule, you cannot have a membership, you cannot charge a membership fee to buy an alcohol beverages.
Right.
So Costco's one store now, if you wanna walk into Costco's one store now, because Walmart doesn't have one, you would have the ability to go in there, buy your liquor without a membership.
right now.
Right now. There is no there's nothing in the statute that says that sets that all up now. So the fact that this was added, the words open to the public were added specifically to these provisions relating to liquor licensed drugstores going forward means that there was a need to make it very clear, although it failed, to say that the entire premises within the four walls is open to the public without a membership requirement. Number two, the whole way there are certain criteria that have to be met in order to become a liquor licensed drugstore. You have to have a licensed drugstore, 20% of your revenue has to be food, right?
Something else.
No more.
Under 20% or whatever it was.
At least 20.
20, at least
At
20,
least 20.
at a minimum of 20. Well, to get to those criteria, it's the entire operation that you're looking at. You're not looking at the microcosm of just the area where liquor is sold. You're looking at the entire panoply of the operation within those four walls. So to say that you're looking at the entire operation within those four walls, and then you say, but the membership only applies to this one little section, is inherently inconsistent.
You said you can't charge a membership fee. Where in the law does it tell you that?
Well, my understanding is that
As long as it's not more than 20%, starting, you know.
I'm not following you on that one.
Put it this way, I mean, the retail liquor stores don't have the law that says you have to be open to the public. They don't have that, they won't have that.
Mm-hmm.
You tell me you can't, I'm just making sure I understand, you say you can't charge a membership fee. I don't think it says that.
So let's make this clear, then am I allowed, would I be allowed as Applejack Wine and Spirits to charge a membership fee to buy alcohol beverages within Applejack?
As long as that and everything else that's non-alcoholic doesn't be more than 20%.
Smile, Jim.
Before you weren't able to do that because we had this allowed list of things you could sell, and one of them was membership. So before,
So
yes.
as long as not more, so what you're saying, just this is a good discussion, because what you're saying, as long as not more than 20%
Of your gross
of my
sales.
gross sales are for food.
No.
No,
Membership.
you,
Anything
anything,
else.
yours,
Anything other
anything,
than
liquor
liquor.
stores, anything else.
So my membership charge, would that be considered as part of the revenue?
Yes, sir.
So for Costco, that will be the membership fees would be.
Different rule, different law.
So, but Patrick, I have a question. If they are limited to selling alcohol without a membership and without, how do they meet the 20%? That they have to sell food and other items?
I don't know what you mean, I mean,
Well, to have a drugstore license, the grocery store, they have to have at least 20% of their revenue be food and other items.
right.
Costco now sells liquor without a membership, so that's the license part of it. And when you take that revenue, you're still gonna take all the food and everything else to calculate that, right?
Well, yeah, because the one Costco liquor license drugstore does not have, right now today, does not have the parameters if you you can go in, or put it this way, it's by policy alone, not law, that they're open to the public for alcohol. They can be a membership right now and have a membership.
I understand, but this regulation
but
is
let me-
going
so-
forward.
So going forward, that would be changed to where the alcohol has to be purchased without membership, okay? But still, the liquor license drugstore is still the entirety, so it's just not to the liquor, it would be the food as well. So it must be no difference,
So what you're saying is, yes, Jim can go in, he can buy liquor from them, no membership, nothing else. But they're gonna get to count all of their other sales.
That I can't buy.
20% that he can't buy.
That's the inconsistency.
that he can't buy, yes, correct. I see what you're saying.
And I agree with you, that's the inconsistency. So you require them to do it, but the customer can't buy it, because all they can buy is the alcohol.
But they still have to have 20% of food, sales as food.
But they can't, within the license forbid part of it is not able to come up to that 20% threshold then.
Why not?
Because
But you
the
have to
licensed
include
premises,
the
so
members
what you're
for
saying.
one.
The whole thing is still the premises.
So so just so I understand, the licensed premises then for Costco will be the entire four walls.
Yeah.
Even if they don't have alcohol over in the food section.
Yeah.
I think that answers the question.
Because and what you're also saying is that within the licensed premises, a membership is not required.
To purchase alcohol.
But how can the state, I don't think the state can do that. I don't think the state can slice and dice it differently. I don't think legally it can, statutorily it can. In other words, if the licensed premises are open to the public, the licensed premises are open to the public without a membership requirement. End of discussion.
It is open to the public.
But you can't, but the public cannot participate in it.
Doesn't say that they can't. I have to.
So Patrick, what you're
So
saying
I
is.
can walk in, but I can't buy.
What you're saying,
I'll
if
go.
the business decision by Costco or Sam's Club was to allow alcohol purchasers to grab that bag of chips at the same time and check out, there's no prohibition against that.
No.
It's not authorized, what doesn't have to be authorized.
But it works in reverse, which is
But
they can
there's
also.
also no prohibition against us saying you can't buy that bag of chips.
Right.
Right.
If you're gonna buy the alcohol.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that prohibition is inconsistent because the criteria of whether the criteria is you have to have a drugstore, you have to have not more than 20% food sales, right?
No, more than.
But not more than 20%.
20%.
At least.
At least 20%, excuse me, I'm misstating it. But yet, if you restrict somebody, they cannot get to that threshold because it's everyone but the alcohol buyer who doesn't have a membership.
But the lead that's being made here, Jim, is that you're saying that person has to be able to access every product in the store, and nothing in the statute says that. Nothing in the statute says that. I mean, that's your interpretation of it, okay?
Well, no,
But
we're.
where in the statute does it say that I have to be able to go and buy the bag of chips and buy the liquor without having to be a member of Costco or Sam's Club?
Well, it says open to the public, and open to the public means that it's like saying, you can go there, but you can't buy it.
No, that's the question. What does open
This
to the
isn't
public?
this
No,
isn't
I know
Title
that's
12.
why I said that.
So that's why.
The bill's only talking about alcohol. mean, I have to say, even Phil
Right.
talks about alcohol, he's not talking about.
You know, I had opened the door, this was coming.
No, no, this is,
No, look at you.
we've been
Yeah,
discussing this
it's right.
forever and ever, this is not anything new,
It's not.
and
I
it
can
had-
tell you, when we went, I mean, I was there every single day, and I don't ever remember any discussion that was intended to preclude them.
Right.
But I'm just saying you can't get to the threshold, well, and I'll tell you this, we did have a discussion.
And that's
And you
all I'm
were,
saying.
you were not, and I will be honest with you guys, it was a discussion of when we added the language open to the public within the retail group, that this happened. So I'm not disputing what any of you said, I'm not foisting this on you, and I will say that also, when Stedman testified in the Senate.
Say
Business
14
Affairs.
minutes in, and what date, you know, what date that was, Gene?
Say what? It's
What
about
date?
14 minutes.
14, and do you remember what date that was?
Senate Business
It's
Affairs.
the audio, May 6th.
26th.
I mean, I understand what the arguments are on this side and why it's being said that way. I mean, we're just having an honest discussion here about mincing of the words. But all I'm just saying is that the Costco's of the world cannot meet that threshold.
So you're
Unless
you're
the-
equating, you're equating that the licensed premises only being the alcohol part, but we're equating to be the whole thing.
But I can come in, but I can't participate, is what I'm saying. It's-
But other people can. You buy membership.
No, but it's like saying, but if I know what you're saying, but I'm just saying the inconsistency, it always reminds me of an old civil rights thing, which is, you can come and look at the swimming pool, but you can't dive in.
Are we really making that?
Why there are criteria.
No, but that's the criteria that's in this, no, I'm looking at the
Bushwood
statute.
Country Club, we're not denying membership.
No, but I'm not making, guys, I'm looking at the case that they just cited. That case is about that, right?
It was about
In part.
strippers. The criteria.
The
is
criteria.
land
There was-
taxes.
Which
Yeah.
is a civil rights
Church
case,
Circuit
right?
Civil rights case,
That's all I'm
yes.
saying, I'm not trying to equate the two, I'm just saying where the language comes from.
Well, we will definitely listen to this, okay, and see if we come up with anything different.
And by the way, if you, it's going to, we're all on opposite sides of this, or some of us are, but it's an absolutely important discussion to resolution that needs to happen, because either we're going forward back to the legislature, or they're gonna go back to the legislature, but I would rather, but I think it's clear how it was
Yeah.
done.
And we did go out to other states
Right.
and look and ask how they are dealing with this.
One more thing to consider is that the whole liquor code is based upon what's good for public policy, right? It's public policy based. And I cannot believe that public policy could be based upon restrictions. I'm done, my soapbox is now vacated.
Okay. Any other comments about this? We, you know, under 4, this is that 20%. With the prior 12 months in the drugstore, or a new one aside to sale of food. We define evidence in food. Are we comfortable with this evidence here that, you know, this is, so on a new liquor license drugstore or a renewal, they have to provide evidence that 20% of their sales in the last 12 months was from food. Are we comfortable that that's a signed affidavit by the licensee? I'm not sure we're good with that.
So Patrick, on that, Target had some questions. I know you're not looking to create an expansive list of products, but under your interpretation of that rule as written here, that would include prepared meals, prepackaged food, power bars, protein bars, all that?
Yep.
What about vitamins? Consumption.
Edible substance intended or for sale in part for human consumption. So, yeah, vitamins, yes.
I love my Flintstone vitamins. Right on.
Vitamins
I like the
are,
gummy ones too.
me too, those are the best.
I just like the little bare
Yeah,
orange
but
ones, those little
it's
candy
really
ones, like
nice.
those little bare ones.
Like the Flintstones.
I like the Flintstones too.
No, we'll get moving, we'll get moving.
Okay.
I promise that. You're gonna like me again.
I don't know.
All right, let's continue on.
What do you do about internet sales?
What do you mean?
About what?
Internet sales.
What about it?
I place an order on the internet.
Yeah,
Those sales obviously are part of the gross revenues, right?
yes. Well, you know,
Where do you pick it up?
it depends, that's good, it's a really good question, Jim. It depends on, this is per licensee. So this is that licensed facility there, it'd be internet sales that come from that licensee. Not from that license, so.
What if Safeway, you go to the Safeway site and that's how you order?
You're probably not ordering from that licensee. Now, if that product did come from there and the sales did come to that, from that store, then yes, it would be counted towards that. I doubt they do that, but I don't know the business model, but some maybe would, to where, like for you, internet sales for deliveries, or just internet sales is your facility, there's only one, right? But
what happens when I have multiple, which is what the grocery stores are gonna have?
Jim, are you concerned if internet sales would bring the threshold, the sales down below 20%?
I don't know what they would do, I'm just asking if the internet's, how do you account for the gross revenue with respect to internet sales?
You could count it if you want.
Yeah, it should be counted, I think it should be counted.
it would be counted if it came from that store, yes. If that store sold something, there was an internet sell, that would still count.
Because it's on a premises by premises basis.
Right.
It's the licensed premises.
I don't think it's gonna impact the 20% number.
My guess is a lot of that stuff is done from a sole separate warehouse, is my guess. I'm not sure if they do it by store or not.
You deliver? Yeah, baby.
Crushing it. Crushing it.
That's why they.
All your groceries sent to your door.
That's why they bought the new
Nice.
company.
So, no.
Anything else on 407?
So y'all be quiet for a while.
All right, next, 410, retail storage permit. This is just to put in language to not allow liquor licensed drugstore to store alcohol off their licensed premises. Which is in effect now, actually, but, I mean, the law is in effect, the rule doesn't reflect that, but. Okay, 410, okay? 416, I added on the back page there, retail liquor stores may sell any non-alcohol products unless prohibited by law or rule. As long as it's not more than 20%. And we get rid of that, we got rid of our wonderful items approved for sale. Any question about that? Pete?
So for years, we fought allowing liquor stores to sell, food, like restaurants. And now the 20% is in there. I'm just wondering how it will be accounted for. Over here on page 9, liquor license drugstore has to provide evidence to the state that doesn't exceed, or that it exceeds 20%. Over here, it can't exceed 20%. Is there gonna be some method in place to account for non-alcohol sales of everything else?
At this point, no. I mean, not the same as liquor licensed drugstores. Liquor licensed drugstores, upon application or renewal, have to provide evidence. That same language is not in the law for retail liquor stores. So we're not going to mandate.
I guess I'm not asking you for something in the rule. I just wonder what you think the department policy might be if a liquor store turns into a restaurant.
Well, our policy is come June 30th of next year, July 1st of next year, we'll have 1 years of sales records, because we really can't do anything until then, because the law says gross annual sales. So we're really, our hands are tied for a year.
And
Come July 1, if this law is still this way, and there's a place that's obviously not right, we'll do an audit and we'll, cause the law and rule allows us to do a financial audit of any licensee and make them pay for it. Just let you guys know that, okay? We don't do that very often because, you know, it's, but.
I'm not necessarily asking for that.
Right.
I'm just saying that, okay, there's a rule, it's in the statute, I guess. You know, how does it get enforced?
It will be, cause that's one of those things that's.
It's just like the $1,000 that we
Right.
can buy from a liquor store, or that restaurants can buy from a liquor store. You know, there's no necessarily an audit on that until there's a problem.
And that's
then-
usually what happens in
Yeah.
the same case here, unless we come across, you know, we do an inspection and we're like, yeah, right. You know, it's obvious to us is probably more than 20% and we can do our own.
Sell a lot of chicken here.
Right. Right.
Just a
I
question.
mean, like on the $2,000, and we do quite a bit actually cite licensees for buying more than $2,000 at retail liquor stores.
And the penalty for having more than 20% of your sales in something other than alcohol is?
We haven't put that in the matrix, we'll have to figure it out.
Okay, just questions. Thank you.
All right, 47-417, additional retail liquor store licenses, residency. We had some discussion with the subgroups on this. What I did is I decided to plagiarize marijuanas and just put in where it applied to liquor, and, cause it was a process that's already been approved by the state licensing authority. I'm not all that excited doing many changes to this because I think it's already something that's in place, but I'm open for discussion. Need time to read it, or can we go on?
Keep going.
Sorry, keep moving.
506 fees, that's pretty much our fee schedule. We're charging $1,200 for the application for the 2-for-1 conversion. Because of the extra work we have to do, instead of charging $920, we're charging $1,200. And we're charging $100 for manager permit registration versus $75 for the registration of the manager for hotel, restaurant, tavern, lodging, entertainment, because the extra work we have to do, so. And since we're on this real quick, about 3/4 of the way down, there's on a list here, a new product registration per unit, it says $0. That will take effect October 1st. By the end of this week, we'll have an email that goes out to the entire industry, and we're gonna be doing a sort of a promotion on this, but if you call it promotion, to where come October 1, all product registrations must be done online through a company called Pro. The reason why I went to $0 is then it will still only cost $5 per product registration you pay for Pro for the use of the program. So we'll do a splash about it and tell everybody what's going on and communicate to those people who use it now, cause it's available now, but it's double the price. So, that's why we took it down to 0. We already went through rulemaking on that, and that was, approved. It just needs to go into effect October 1st, so. Steve?
Just an academic question. Pro is used in several other states.
Yes.
Are historical label registrations for pre-pro in Colorado gonna be uploaded to Pro, so when a DSP logs into Pro, they'll see all their COLAs and which states?
Right now, when we get paper ones, Standard converts them to the electronic form, so they're all in Pro now.
And everything that was pre-pro was entered before it even got into this division, so it's all there.
Yeah, we have a lot in Pro.
I use it for 3 different states
Yeah.
already, and that's how I found out we could use it for Colorado, was it gave me the option, and I went, wait a second. But it's like, I think it was $15 instead of 5, so.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
So it'll be 5 after October 1st.
Our members will be very happy about that.
We're gonna be very happy that we don't get the stacks of paper every single day.
Sandra's gonna be very happy.
Yeah, it's a long time coming, took a long time to get there, but we're there, so. 912, identification, this just includes the fact that, and it talks about the requirement of checking someone who looks under 50 for a retail liquor store or liquor license drugstore, using a valid form of ID, so we just make sure that's the same as this. Now, Jean did bring up last time tribal, permits or licenses. And she did provide me a link to DMV, of course, my own department, but that they, I guess they do accept that for, an official form of ID, so I may look at adding that to this.
Remember, last year we talked about not all foreign countries consular cards were valid in Colorado?
Not all what?
Foreign consular cards for various countries that were not.
Consular cards.
And then the next question is, cause we actually saw one of these, a UN refugee card,
That wouldn't be, that's on the list,
and that's why I'm asking.
yeah. Someone looking to try, might be adding travel.
But what about the
UN
foreign,
refugee
the
was
foreign,
held by
is it
police
any,
at liquor store.
at this point, because I know for other stuff, last year we said there were countries that didn't.
There's several countries that don't have consular ID cards at all. Several. Most of them don't, it's very few that do.
We've seen Chinese, we've seen Mexican.
Okay.
We saw a Syrian with a refugee card.
That would not be valid. Age of employees, this is just to reflect the law about taverns. And that's it for the 197 rule. Okay, except for Jim's opposition, anybody else's opposition on the open to the public, any other, and other tweaks we mentioned here, any other comments? Jean, and Jean. Okay, cool. Take a break. And then we'll finish up with the LED review.
Which one does that start with? Is that this one?
Yep.
First one I printed. Jean's very sneaky. Anita.